is just a melancholy, and even something that is unpleasant. Okay, so this is how harsh truth is. It's not easy to find it, and it's even difficult when you find it, when it is revealed, to impose it on your body, to impose it, okay, in practical life. Okay, so then he gives an example again of a Greek philosopher. He says one of the fathers, okay, one of the fathers. He might be a father of a church, or a father can be he's referring to any philosopher, ancient philosopher, but we don't know who that father is. But he says one of the fathers in great severity called poesy venom demonum. Okay, venom demonum means devil's wine. Venom demonum means devil's wine. So he says that one of the father, one of the ancient philosopher, or one of the ancient a father in a church, okay, with that anger called poesy means poetry. Called poetry, it is devil's wine. Poetry is a devil's wine. So it has been one of the major topic of discussion, a bone of contention between the philosophers of ancient times, when they will discuss is poetry suitable for human or it is not. And this is one of the topic of contradiction between Aristotle and Plato, if you know that. Okay, Plato accused poetry of being twice away from reality. It's something fictional. It is unreal. It has a negative effects of human body. Yes, in poetics. Okay, so and then Aristotle comes and he defends poetry against Plato, and we have also discussed that the allegation which were made against poetry in by Plato, and we discuss one book, if you remember that. Okay, in our prose classes. In that book again we saw. Okay, so he says it has been one of the topic of a discussion, a bone of contention between the old philosopher. They will discuss is poetry suitable for human or it is not. But there are some men, there are some fathers and philosophers, they call poetry as venom demonum. Okay, poetry is devil's wine. Okay, wine is bad thing, but when it is of devils, it is even more. Okay, it is even worse. So this is how he says. So poetry is a devil's wine because it fires the imagination, and yet it but with a shadow of a lie. So the poetry is a lie. When you read poetry, your imaginations are fired. Okay, your imaginations are augmented. They arise there. So imaginations, when they arise, they lead away from you. They deviate from you truth. They deviate you from the path of a truth. See, imagination and truth are not connected. Truth is something that is real. Imaginations are opposite to it. But when you read poetry, your imaginations are arise. Yes, devil's wine. Poetry means venom, demonum means devil's wine. So see, when you read poetry, your imaginations arise there. They are in number. They augment there. But uh, truth and imagination are opposite. Imaginations are usually unreal. Truth is real. So when truth is there, it will deviate you. Okay, sorry, imagination will deviate you from the truth. This is why poetry is a shadow of lie. It leads you to lie. It deviates you away from the truth. So this was one of the allegation made against poetry. And let's see how Bacon defends poetry. He says, but it is not the lie that passed through the mind, but the lie that sinks in and settles in it, that does the hurt, such as we spake of before. So he defends poetry, like Sidney defends it in Apology for Poesy, and we saw Aristotle defends it. Similarly, Bacon defends poetry as well against this claim, against this argument made against poetry by the fathers. They believe that poetry leads you to imagination and that is away from the truth. So he says, though truth, though imagination, I accept they lead you to, they deviate you from the real path. But poetry is a kind of untruth. Poetry is a kind of fiction. that is not imbibed in you, that is not infused in you, but okay, he says the word he used, that is not sinks in you. Okay, it is not in a way sink in you, but it is not imbibed in you. Okay, but it is settled on the surface. It remains on the surface. A lie is a dangerous, no, okay, no doubt. A lie is a dangerous, but it is dangerous when it settles down. Okay, when it is instilled and goes into the depth of human being, when it impacts human being, okay, when it is implanted into it. Otherwise, if it is settled on the surface, a human being is not affected to that much extent by it in that case. So poetry is a kind of lie that settles above man. Okay, on the surface it is. It is not imbued in it. It is not infused in man. It remains on the surface. Whenever you want, you can skip that. So this is why poetry does not leads you or in a way deviates you away from the truth. It is a kind of a lie, no doubt, but it is not a harmful lie. So there are two kinds of lies. One lie harmful, other is not. So poetry is a kind of lie, एक किस्म का झूठ है जो नुकसान वाला नहीं है. Though it is a lie, he believes that it is a lie, but it is not harmful because it does not settle there. But because it does not, in a way, is imbibed there in it. It does not goes into the depth of human. So this is why poetry is a lie, but it is not a harmful lie. Then he says, but howsoever these things are thus in man's depraved judgment and affection, yet truth, which only does judge itself. He says, truth judge itself. A truth can only judge itself. It's not a lie that can judge a truth, but it is a truth can only judge itself. A man who is true, he can judge the truth. A truth can judge itself. Okay, not a lie. A liar cannot know the value of a truth. He cannot evaluate a truth. He cannot give marks to the truth. Okay, he do not know the importance of a truth. A liar, the man who's a truthful, who's a veracious, he only knows how important a truth is. And then he says, okay, in these lines from here, okay, teaching that the inquiry of a truth, which is a love making, are owing to it. The knowledge of truth, which is a presence of it, and the belief of truth, which is a enjoying of it, is a certain good of human nature. Okay, in these lines, uh, uh, he compares truth with your beloved, though it is not written here, but in a way you can guess like this. He compares truth with your beloved. How he compares truth? See, he says, an inquiry of a truth, which is the love making. Okay, how love starts. Love doesn't starts with a direct relation. There are various steps which you have to pass in order to achieve your beloved. Similarly, there are various steps of achieving a truth and revealing a truth and getting near to that truth. And then at last you get the benefits of it. Similarly, at the beginning, inquiry of a truth, when you search truth, is similar, is love making. When you make a love, when you love someone, for example, when you send a marriage proposal to someone, okay, we can compare in this way. So it's not exactly written here, but it can be how related to this. He says inquiry of a truth is somehow related when you inquire, when you search your beloved. Okay, when you find someone with whom you can make love. And then he says the knowledge of a truth, and it is somehow which is the presence of it. When you find the beloved, it is there in front of you, it is present there. It is related to when the knowledge of a truth. So when you first you search truth, when you search truth, you get the knowledge of that truth. Similarly, when you search your beloved, when you search your beloved, okay, and it is present in front of you. This is same with the truth as well. And he says the belief of a truth, and you believe in that truth, you implement that truth in your practical life, is somehow similar to which is the enjoying of it. When you for example get married with your own beloved, and then you have the kind of fruit of it, then you have a kind of company with that. So this is how he compares a beloved on the one hand and the truth on the other hand. So this is again an interesting comparison. And then he says is the sovereign god of human nature. So truth is something a good of human nature. Then he goes on to the say first creature of god. uh, Okay, I'll read these lines and then I'll ask you relate these lines to the essay of a truth, how you will relate it. Okay, so please listen to them carefully. At the end of explanation of these lines, I'll ask you how you will relate that with the essay of a truth. Why Bacon talks about these theological and religious concepts here, and then how can we relate it to this essay. So this is what I'll ask you. So uh, listen to it. He says, first creature of God, the first creature of God in the works of days was light of a sense. So he talks about two lights. One is a light of a sense, other is a light of a reason. There are two lights according to the Bacon. One is a light of a sense, another is a light of a reason. Light of a sense is related to your senses, is something related to physical or the physics, okay, physical nature of human body, and then the physical concepts, uh, those which are not abstract, those which are physical, okay, light of sense. And then he talks about a light of reason as well. So light of reason is your capability, your ability of thought, your ability of reasoning things, your ability of thinking and making judgment of your own and analyzing the things, okay, and then weighing the things there. So so there is a light of reason and then there is a light of sense. What God created first? God first created a light of sense, and then at last he created a light of reason. First was something that you physically see, your senses, uh, your physical nature, okay, something that is in accordance to the rules of physics. And then he created something that is metaphysical, that is related to reason and imagination and thought. And his Sabbath work ever since is illumination of his spirit. Okay, Sabbath is considered as a seventh day. Like we have 7 days in a week, it's a concept in Christianity that we have that same concept. We believe that God created this universe in 7 days and nights. हमारे पास भी यही concept है. The same is a concept in Christianity that God created universe in 7 days and nights. But they believe that it was not complete 7 days, it was 6 days. God created universe in 6 days. On the seventh day, he rested. Okay, he was in a way he worked for continuously for 6 days. He created that huge universe, and then he was tired, so he rested for one day. So this is what the concept in Christianity is. Uh, कि after 6 days, God rested. He had a rest. So on that day of rest, they call it is the seventh day, and now we call it as a Sunday. Why Sunday is a holiday? Sunday is still a day of a rest. You know that. Why it is a day of rest? Because they believe that God rested on this day, so we must rest. So this is the concept behind Sunday as well. This is the ideology कि क्यों Sunday holiday है, and that was the reason we had Friday as our holiday in our in past. But as the Western influence increased, we made Sunday as our holiday as well. So they believe that Sunday was a day when God rested. So he says God created first a light of a sense and then the light of a reason, and on the seventh day, after creation of everything, he rested. And on the day of rest, he illuminated his spirit. Illuminated his spirit means he in a way, हमारे पास भी यही concept है, something similar to it. कि खुदा ने अपना रूह फूंका, okay, he gave his own spirit into the mankind, into the Adam. Uh, uh, as it is mentioned even in the Quran that in humans the spirit, the ruh, the soul is of a God himself. Okay, like there is a uh, like there is in one ayat in Quran, I will quote that exactly, where God says, "Faiza sawaitu fanafaqatu fihi min ruhi fakahu lahu sajidin." आपने मेरे ख्याल से सुनी होगी ये आयत. Okay, in this ayat what he says, what God says, that I wanafaqatu fihi min ruhi, I, in a way, given my own spirit, my own soul to the human being, so that it can be illuminated. So this is how God's spirit and His soul is within us. He has given us that soul, and they believe that on the seventh day, God has given that soul to human being. Okay, in the form of His own spirit there. Uh, so first He created a sense, a light of a sense, then the light of a reason. On the seventh day, he rested and illuminated a spirit within a human being. Then he says, first he breathed light upon the face of a matter of a chaos. So this is what the concept they have. The process in which God created universe. What he did first, first he breathed light in the face of a matter of chaos. Okay, there was a mere matter that was not organized, that was not well managed there. Just a matter of a chaos. Okay, there was stones, there was clay, there was mountains. Okay, but what God did, He breathed a light into it, so that Earth can be strengthened, and then it can have that space so that human can live here. This is what God did first. Then He breathed light into the face of man. Then He created man. हमारे पास भी यही same concept है in Islam. That खुदा ने first He created a earth. He made suitable it for the life of human being, and then He created human being and sent human being on the earth there, to the earth there. And still He breathed in the spirit of light into the face of his choosing. And then what he did, he breathed his own light, okay, into the face of those men. And then he breathed light into the face of those who choose him. So there were two steps, or three steps. In first step, he breathed light into the matter of chaos. Universe was created. In the second step, he breathed light into the face of man, a common man. In the third step, he breathed light into the face of his chosen. Chosen can be prophet, a prophet. Okay, they had a knowledge more than us. They were chosen people of God. So these are the categories he makes there. So this is how God made universe. He breathed his own light to it. Uh, so how you will relate this theological discussion um, with this essay truth? Can you please relate it? I'll be waiting for your answer. Let's see how many of you can relate it. How many of you can relate this theological discussion? This is purely theological and biblical discussion. Okay, references from Bible, and then he compares that with truth. How you will relate truth with this discussion? क्यों ये discussion यहाँ पे है? What's the purpose of this discussion? How you will relate it with the concept of the truth? That is the main essay. This is the main concept we are discussing here. Can you please answer this? Light of a sense, light of a reason. Then he breathed his own a light into the matter of chaos. Then he breathed light into the face of a man. Then he breathed light uh, into his choosing. How you relate these lines to this essay? Can you do that? Okay, this is a relevant answer. Uh, Light in a way is is synonym of truth. When he breathed light, it shows that he breathed truth there, because God is true. Everything that is of that is divine, that is from God, is always true. Whatever God will believe, whatever he will breathe, okay, into man, into the matter, into this chosen, that will be truth. Yes, everything that God created is high truth. Okay, this is the concept is, he says that the truth is in everything. The truth is even in the matter that God created for the first time. Then the truth is in man, truth is in his chosen. Everywhere you will see the truth, because the light of a God that is breathed is the truth. This is how it can be related to the concept of a truth. This is how it can be related to the major theme of ISA. Everything is truth. Everywhere you will find that truth, because that universe is based on that concept of a truth. This universe has been made, emerged, or evolved, okay, out of that truth of a God. So how there is no space for lie in it. If God has created that universe with his own hand, by in a way breathing his own spirit and soul into it, how you can give a place to lie here? This is in a way a place of a truth. You will find truth everywhere. This is how you will relate these lines from biblical lines to this essay. Okay, I guess the concept is clear now. So then he gives example of one poet. He says there was a one poet, and then what he says, the poet that beautified the sect that was otherwise inferior to the race. Okay, said excellently well that, sorry, he says, these are the quotations. Okay, these are the exact line of that poet. The name of poet is not given here. I don't know what is the name of that poet, but it is a possibility that he might be a Greek or Roman poet, because we see Bacon usually refers to Greek and Roman authors, philosophers, even Greek and Roman common people there as well. So he believes that, oh so sorry, that poet says that, quoting that poet, Bacon says, it's a pleasure to stand upon the shore and to see ships tossed upon the sea. And I guess you will also find that player as a player. When you stand upon a shore, when you stand there on a beach, ships are passing by. Okay, you always feel that relief. Okay, you always feel something within. So you always feel satisfaction within you. You are pleased to see that that scenery of the beach where ships are sailing. Okay, there is a calm, and then the wind is blowing. So this is something, a scenery of a player. Then he says a player is to stand in window of a castle and see a battle. It's also a player when you are not in a danger, but you see there by standing somewhere on a highest level, okay, on elevation, from a window of a castle, and watching at the battle there which is going on there. So it is again a player to watch battles when your life is not in the danger, but you see others fighting with themselves. And then he says, and adventures thereof below. But then he says, but no player is comparable to standing upon the vantage ground of a truth, and to see the errors and wanderings and mists and tempests in the veil, uh, in the veil below. Okay, this is what he says. He says, though the player is in when you are standing on a beach on a shore and watching the ships, player is in when you are standing in a window of a castle and then looking at the battle. But he says there cannot be player comparable. Okay, this is the highest kind of player. When you stand vantage ground of the truth, when you stand on the ground of a truth, when you remain in parallel to the truth, when you stick to the truth, the ground of the truth is highest than any other ground. Okay, then that's the window of a castle, or then the beach. It's a ground from where you can find the errors of your own self and the errors of people. You can find everything, you can have see, you can see the miss, okay. The things which are unclear, that will be clear to you when you follow the truth. And then the tempest, all those cyclones, all those unclear things, okay, vague concepts, that will be only clear to you when you follow the truth, when you believe in truth. So the ground of truth is the highest. For example, if we stand on an elevated, okay, height, and we see it from there, we have a bird's eye view, we can see everything, okay, we can have can notice everything which is under our eyes. So that height is always advantageous. So he says that he believes that truth gives you that height from where you can uh, where you can watch, okay, all these uh, things from there on. Then he says, this is prospect be with pity and not with swelling pride. But when you achieve that ground, when you achieve that highest ground, okay, don't swell, don't show pride, but be a common man. Don't show pride that I can judge truth, I can reveal truth, I am a truthful man. Don't exaggerate those things. Don't go everywhere and say, "Okay, I am a truthful man, I always speak truth, I never speak lie." This is a kind of pride and selling. When you speak truth, okay, do it with pity, with the fear of a God. Believe that it is something, a matter between me and God, not of a people. Then he says, certainly it is heaven upon earth to have a man's mind move in charity. So certainly he believes that the heaven is there. So Bacon was not atheist. Okay, he was a believer in God. He says we believe that. I believe that heaven exists, and it is above earth. Upon earth means it is above earth. Above earth means higher in status. The facilities in heaven are more than we see in the earth. Okay, it is a suitable place to live without sorrows and worries. So heaven is a place upon earth, is a place of satisfaction. For men, there are three kinds of men, three categories of men he believes they will get that heaven. Those men who mind move in charity, men who give charity, rest in providence, believe in God, and turn upon the poles of earth, and those who remain true, stick to the truth. They never compromise, okay, uh, truth for false and lie. They always remain strict to the truth, like we have poles. You know that there are poles. Okay, pole always remain fixed on their positions. Pole never move. And then there are stars as well. We say them, they are polar stars. Why polar stars? Because their position is fixed. They do not move. He compares again a truth with that. He believes those men who remain fixed to the truth like a poles and polar stars, and those men who believe in God, providence means God, and those men who believe, those who give charity, they will only get this highest place, okay, that we call heaven, which is above earth. Then he in this is the last paragraph. Then he says to pass from theological philosophical truth to the truth of civil business. He says now coming to the practical life, whatever we discussed till now was either theological concept of a truth or philosophical concept of a truth, but now we are going to discuss civil business. Okay, the concept of a truth that is related to our daily life, a practical. It will be acknowledged even by those that practice it not, and this kind of truth will be acknowledged. This in a way, this discussion will be acknowledged by those who do not even practice truth. Previously, when he were asked, when he was discussing things of theology and philosophy, what he said only those people can appreciate truth who themselves are truthful and veracious. But here he says, now I will discuss, now I will say things. These are for common men. A common man can even understand these things. For this, you do not need any knowledge and practice. Previously, he said, These things can only understood by those people who themselves are veracious and truthful. Truth can understand truth. Okay, but here he says, now this discussion which is I am going to make about your practical life is very simple and can be even understood by a common man. That clear and round dealing is the honor of man's nature, and the mixture of falsehoods is like a lie. And then he says, a nature of man is what God wants from man is that his dealings must be clear, okay, honest and truthful. Then he says, a mixture of falsehood. When you mix truth and false together, it is something like an alloy. Okay, again he makes an reference to uses a metaphor there. Okay, that mixture of false and truth is like alloy. Alloy is a combination of different metals. When we combine two or three metals, alloy is formed. So he says, in a coin of a gold and silver, which make the metal work the better, but it embellisheth it. Though we make alloy so that the metal can work better. Okay, otherwise a pure metal do not work better. We always need alloys. See steel. Why steel is not corroded? Why it is corrosion free? Because it is an alloy. Why iron corrodes? Because it's a pure metal. So the function of a alloy is it makes steel, it makes that metal more durable. This is something with the truth and lie as well. When you mix truth and lie, like we mix gold and silver in coin, though it makes metal work better, it makes it durable. Similar, when you mix both truth and lie together, it will in a way it will give you advantage, but it embellisheth it. It will decrease the value of that metal. A pure gold is always higher in value than the gold which is alloy, which is mixed with metals. Okay, so this is how the value will be decreased. So I'll try to finish it as soon as possible because we have just 5 minutes left. Okay, then he says, for these winding and crooked courses are the going to the serpent and goes bestly. Then he compares false with a serpent. Okay, a serpent or a kind of a snake who goes on his belly. Okay, he crawls. He doesn't stand there. Same is with a lie there. The lie always is a base. It crawls there. It moves secretly. It can't show its face to the human being. So it is always down to earth. Okay, down there. uh, it can't raise above. And then he says, there is no voice that does so cover a man with shame and be found false and profit. Then he quotes Montaigne. Who was Montaigne? Montaigne was a famous a French essayist. He he in a way quotes Montaigne. So Montaigne says he, if it will be weighed to say that man lies as much to say as that he is brave towards God and cowards towards men. He says that those men who lie, who speak false, they are brave to God. Despite knowing that this is sin, they will be punished on the day of judgment, on the doomsday. But still they lie. Why they lie? Because they fear men. This is something very much interesting. Okay, a contradicting and contradicting as well at the similar time. People lie because they fear people. They fear men, common men, but they do not fear God. What about God when he will punish them for speaking those lies there? So those people who speak lie, they are brave to God and they are coward to men. And then he says, for a lie faces God, shrinks from men. Surely the wickedness of falsehood and breach of faith cannot possibly be highly expressed, as that shall last peal and the judgment of a God. Then he says, the last peal, okay, the last trumpet that will be blowed. Hamare paas bhi hai na? And the concept of Islam that the doomsday will arrive and then the last trumpet will be blowed by that one angel there. Okay, then he says, calls to the day of a judgment of a God. So those who speak false, those who speak lie, okay, they will be in a way brought into the court of God on the day of judgment. Then he say, upon generation of man is being foretold that the Christ comes, he shall not find faith upon the earth. And then when Christ come, when it will be the time near of a ending of a earth, when the day of judgment will be near, okay, all good things, all purity, that will be in a way, uh, uh, but that will not be found there in this world. Only bad things, only sin will be there. Only lie and false will be there. You will not find truth here. When Christ will come, he will reappear. His resurrection will be there. You will find only lie on the earth. And then he will come here and he will bring the truth into this world, which will be over clouded by the lies. So this is what again a religious belief is. So this is what we have from this essay. It ends here. I guess that